just a reminder of who we are. Welcome back to the network of pediatric palliative care educators, lovingly called NPPCE, not to be confused with Nipsey Hussle. I think this is our fourth meeting. Is that right, Naomi, Catherine? Fourth meeting, maybe fifth, we don't know. And we're just super excited. If you have not officially joined our listserv or our group, and you somehow are here, which happens, please go to our website. We have a website, and subscribe to, so you make sure you get the calendar invites and get added to our listserv. Oh, thanks, Ilanet. And so just it helps us kind of keep track of who our members are, where we all live, and all those things. Okay, so today is a little bit of an experimental format for NPPCE. Thank you all for trying it with me. Hopefully it goes well. So today's session is called a rapid fire educational exchange. And for any of you who have been going to AAHPM for a few years, they did something like this called the educators exchange, something educators exchange. So the idea is, we're going to have 3 different breakout rooms on 3 different really cool education innovations that our colleagues are doing in 3 different places across the country. And so we'll spend about 15 minutes together in large group hearing from each of them. So 5 minutes for each presenter. I'm going to be the taskmaster and keep people on time. And then once we've kind of heard a little bit about each one, Naomi, our amazing tech master, will hopefully open the breakout rooms, and you all will be able to choose which breakout room you want to go into to hear more about.
The pressure is on.
I know. And then we'll have about a half an hour in those breakout rooms. And then we'll come back and we'll do a quick large group close together. People, I bet, I haven't looked at the chat, but I bet people are already freaking out. Like, what if I want to learn about all 3 things? And we've got you covered. Naomi, Catherine, and I are gonna split up and try to record each of the rooms so that for all of you overachievers who want to learn about all 3, you can pick one today and then you can watch the recording for the other ones. So here are our 3 topics in no particular order. Microaggression communication training, resident reflections on a palliative care elective, and the narrative initiative, and its use in palliative care. And I am gonna stop sharing now and ask Jared and Katie to start us off by telling us a little bit about what you could learn if you went to their breakout room.
Behind door number 1. Katie, why don't you go first?
Okay, sounds good. I think Jared and I agreed that we have sort of the same pitch for this, so I'll give it a go and then Jared can enhance whatever I missed. But our question for you is, have you ever been on the side of paralysis, like chest tightening, sweating, when you witness a microaggression and you feel like you don't know what to say or do or how to support the person who's been injured? And I think we felt like, in the same way that we have to practice with procedures and codes and delivering bad news, we have to practice identifying and responding to microaggressions so that we can become better, create more inclusive spaces in our hospital that are safer. We've also touched on ways to receive feedback about microaggressions when you're the microaggressor, and how to receive that with a growth mindset, as well as how to protect yourself and protect your own psychological safety when you're the one who is the victim of a microaggression. So that's sort of our quick elevator pitch. We have some slides too that we can very briefly show that we hope will pique your interest, but I'm going to pass it back to Jared first.
Yeah, it's a good pitch. And I think for our group, what we did was sort of take that metaphor of, we've all had that paralyzed feeling. We've all been in the situation where we want to do something and just don't have the emotional wherewithal, and then don't have the communication tools. And, you know, when we thought about when you witness a microaggression, it feels emotional, it feels important, it's high stakes, it's sudden. You need a response that you can practice out of the moment, so that when you're in the moment, you can do anything. And sort of to carry the metaphor all the way through, we said, you know, it's kind of exactly like a medical code. And just like we all have little code cards we carry around with us, or maybe used to carry around with us before our palliative care days, to help coach through what do you do when you're in the moment and this happens, we created a code card with algorithms to and a communication workshop to go along with it, to be able to help people, you know, learn the communication skills and then practice what to do in the moment.
Okay, Amy, do we have a couple minutes for me to pull up the slides, or we already have 5? Okay. I'm going to go for it. And then let me just get this into like actual slideshow mode. Okay, for me, it still says loading, I hope. All right. So I feel like no presentation is on microaggressions is complete without a shout out to Ibram X. Kendi, activist and scholar. This is from his baby board book, Anti-Racist Baby, and really talks about how anti-racist kids and people are bred and not born, and that it takes practice to make society transform. I'll let Jared talk just briefly about the Baylor experience.
Our experience started with a resident coming to us one day and saying, you know, you guys seem like you're talking about this stuff. What do I do when I witness a patient or family say something racist to a colleague? And we said, you know, we don't know, but we can look into it. And so we put together a team. We did a literature review and did some local interviews, and then created the algorithm and workshop that I talked about earlier. And then here's just a little quick teaser of what some of the algorithms look like. If Katie, you want to go to the next slide. So we broke it out into four sort of common scenarios. There's the discriminatory statement, the discriminatory request, the mistaken identity, which is when somebody mistakes somebody else's role based on implicit bias. And then what we think is the most important one is the acknowledge and support. So, you know, what happens after the moment when somebody's been targeted? How do you support them in a way that gives them space to kind of talk through and feel heard about their reaction to being targeted by a microaggression, and then ultimately sort of works to create a culture of inclusion at the institution. And as you see, they look sort of like code card PALS algorithms that you can kind of talk through and follow the flow sheet with. Then the little yellow circles have language that can be practiced and used in the moment.
These are so cool. I really can't, when Jared first showed these to me, I kind of lost my mind. I was so excited about them. And then just to give a brief summary of how we've done it at the University of Utah, on the left, you can see sort of how we frame the sessions, which we've done between 30 and 90 minutes. And honestly, I think we could even use 2 hours, depending on how many cases you can go through. And all of our cases are built on submitted cases that are de-identified from witnessed or experienced microaggressions in our hospital. So it's also been a way for trainees to be really active in developing the curriculum, because people are either paging the palliative pager or submitting them here being like, I got a microaggression, we got to talk about it. And then we can maybe talk about this more in our small group, but here's some of the impact. We've been doing this for a couple of years and have had over 350 participants, and 100% of people reporting psychological safety during these like pretty intense conversations. So would welcome anybody who wants to talk more about this. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, sorry guys, my computer started wigging out right in that moment. But your timing was amazing. That was exactly 5 minutes. Okay, thanks Jared and Katie. Next up we have Jill-Ann Gerald, and I think Claire is co-facilitating. Jill-Ann and Claire, I will turn it over to you to tell us about using reflections on your palliative care elective.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Good to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Jill-Ann. I'm one of the doctors on the pediatric palliative care team at Texas Children's in Baylor. And I'm going to attempt to share my slides. Okay. Let's see. I think this is good enough. So we are presenting our work from down here on our residency pediatric palliative care elective rotation. And our preliminary title is A Note to Self, Assessing Resident Learning on a Pediatric Palliative Care Rotation Through Reflective Writing. And because we may not get all of you in our super cool breakout session, we wanted to share this first slide at least to give props to the people that have worked so hard on this project. Claire Crawford has already been introduced. Tatiana is a nurse that worked as a research coordinator with our division for many years. Jared is sadly co-presenting in a competing co-breakout session. And then we've had a couple learners work on the project as well. And so we're really presenting this as a work in progress. And what we want to sort of highlight is what we've been working on for the past few years. Essentially, we've had 5 to 6 years of a program, 5 to 6 years of a residency elective rotation. And we really wanted to see what our residents were learning on their pediatric palliative care rotation. And is it what they are supposed to be learning, for lack of a better way of saying it. And how we went about assessing this, because as you know, there's no self-exam for pediatric palliative care. It was by sort of letting the learners guide us in telling us what they've learned. And we used some very specific reflective writing prompts. And as the title of the presentation may tell you, one of the prompts was write a letter to your future self and tell us what you're learning on your pediatric palliative care rotation. And so our third goal was really to assess the utility of this tool as a way of assessing a resident's learnings on a pediatric palliative care rotation. And I'm going to turn it over to Claire for a second, as she is our division expert in qualitative methodology, which is how we went about asking and trying to answer these questions.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Claire, social worker at Texas Children's. I found out today that I was referred to as the Rachel Rush of Texas Children's Hospital, and I was so honored and excited. So I feel like I've really made it now. So for this project, we've really had a lot of fun with it. I mean, it's part of why I love qualitative design and study so much. But the way we went about evaluating these reflections is through an inductive process followed by a deductive. So for inductive, we got to read through all 25 of these amazing reflections and start thinking about the big themes that were emerging, what myself and Tatiana were seeing as what popped out at us as the major issues through more codes than I can count. I have no idea how many codes we ended up having. And what we found is that, how many?
101.
Okay, and that was pared down by a lot from the original. What we ended up with is three major themes. One of them was reflections on the personal and professional self. The next one was the learning skills and styles used in rotation. And the third was observations of medical culture, which, let me tell you, was a doozy. Really enjoyed that one. But for this paper, we delved into the learning portion and found that pretty much everything our residents were learning fell into one of the 6 ACGME core competencies. So we were able to assign them that way and got some really rich data and quotes out of it. But I will say that on a more anecdotal note, one of the side benefits of this type of evaluation is that we sent these reflections out to the whole team every time they were completed. And I can't tell you how enriching and validating it has been as core faculty for this division to receive the reflections and actually get that feedback of what people are learning in real time. Because we end up saying the same things week after week, repeating ourselves, teaching all these points that we get so used to. It's like you just think, well, this must be boring to them because I'm saying the same thing, but they're new learners every time. And to have it proven to us, the faculty, over and over again, that yes, people are learning, yes, people are engaged, yes, what we're doing is worth it, has just been a true privilege. So in our breakout, we'll talk a little more about what we found with these ACGME competencies, what this has been like for our team. And we would love just feedback and dialogue about how to even start with the other two big themes that emerged, because we have lots of data.
Thanks, Claire and Jill. So that's door number 2. Before I turn it over to Becky to share what's behind door number 3, we're actually just going to take a moment of remembrance as a group. Becky's co-presenter today was meant to be Lorraine Dickey. I know many people on this call knew Lorraine. Lorraine was a neonatologist and palliative care doctor in Pennsylvania. She was a bioethicist. She was a force to be reckoned with. She founded the Narrative Initiative and gave TED Talks about her work there. They won a major award with CAPCE. She was really transforming a lot of how we think about narrative medicine and pediatric palliative care. About a month or so ago, Lorraine died in a tragic accident. And part of Becky's mission today is to honor the work that she's done and to continue to carry her work forward. So before I turn it over to Becky, I was hoping that you all would just join me in 30 seconds of silence for Lorraine. Thanks so much. And thanks so much, Becky, for being here and for sharing the work that you all have done together. I'll turn it over to you now.
Great, my pleasure. Thank you for doing that. She indeed is a force to be reckoned with, and natural to feel inadequate as a stand-in, but we'll strive to make her proud. I'm not as funny as she is either, but here we go. I am Becky Oakley. I am founder and executive director of a home-based pediatric palliative care organization in Utah. And we had the opportunity to partner with the Narrative Initiative after they received their CAPCE Tipping Point Award. And actually Lorraine and her executive director, Vivian, came out and trained us and certified us as facilitators in their process in the Narrative Initiative. And we'll just jump into that. Hopefully you can see my screen. We want to talk about, why does good healthcare sometimes not feel good? How can a doctor who perfectly set and treated a child's broken arm in the ED receive a 3 out of 10 on the patient satisfaction survey when the proper care was given and received? When Dr. Dickey had a catastrophic skiing accident, she experienced intensive health care firsthand for about 3 years until she fully recovered. She was surprised to experience that when she received good health care, which she knew as a NICU doc to be the right care, often it didn't feel good both to herself and to her family, she emerged healed and committed to help healthcare feel better for both those of us who choose to give it and those who must receive it. And as I mentioned, my organization, Braid's Place, was fortunate to connect with the Narrative Initiative and Dr. Dickey, and take the work that they had done in hospitals and inpatient settings and see if it was applicable and effective in home. We have learned in Utah from our families is that complex kids, 55% of them greater understand, or sorry, 55% of them report that they're, did you guys see that team message popping?
Becky, your audio is kind of popping in and out. I wonder if you might turn your camera off. Sometimes that helps. Did she? Uh-oh, did she go? Oh no.
No, she's here. She's here.
She's still here.
Okay. Did I come back?
You're back. I wonder if
Okay,
you
I'm
might
back.
turn your camera off and just see if that helps with your bandwidth.
Sure. How's that? Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can, Becky.
So anyway, of those patients, oof, we went to the next slide. Oh, goodness sakes. Sorry, that little thing got my screen all messed up. We'll just start again here. So as I was saying, 55% of the parents reported that their child's medical team was meeting their needs, but only 21% of those parents felt like their medical team understood their child and their situation. And that's a pretty big difference between 55% having their needs met, but still feeling misunderstood. We also had a free text question that was, we wish the community had, and 46% of the parents wish wasn't more services, more this or more that. It was a greater understanding. And that just really surprised us. 38% of parents did wish for more services, but even more just wished for greater understanding. And that's what we're going to focus on in our breakout group today, is communication and how to make communication be a tool that helps healthcare feel good and be more effective. I'm sure we're all familiar with the study in oncology where they introduced that 95% of patients interviewed had negative communication experiences. And because of these negative communication experiences, a decreased trust resulted, medical harm, emotional distress, and insufficient understanding. And we talk about how do these negative things, communication experiences happen, and how can we avoid them? What can be done differently? Dr. Dickey and her team created a write, read, reflect method. And we won't have time to do the whole thing today, but we will take some really critical key techniques and some key tools so that communication is more effective, is more accurate, creates those connections that we know build to trust. When this tool and techniques are used, over 90% of those in hospital settings, as well as in home settings with pediatric palliative care, stated that they felt it would benefit their own sense of personal well-being, that they could listen more effectively, and that they could immediately turn around and apply these skills. We had one parent after a session used to clarify some miscommunication in their medical team. He shared, because of this exercise, I felt more equipped to not only better communicate where we were coming from, but also to ask for additional clarification from the medical staff to understand where they were coming from. I also believe that coming out of write, read, reflect exercise collectively as a potential team, that as my family and a medical staff, we could be more efficient and more effective in accomplishing the common goal of helping my child. There's a meta-analysis that was done, kind of the opposite of the former statistics, that shared that increased trust leads to patients reporting to be more satisfied, increase in beneficial health behaviors, fewer symptoms, and a higher quality of life. And it really was not because these things were objectively measured to be so. They were just found that way because the patient felt that it was so. And it really hones in on how increased and more effective communication builds trust that allows patients to feel these things. If this stuff sounds relatable and interesting to you in the breakout group, what we'll expand together to do is to commiserate for a sec on shared patient experiences that might not have felt good, identifying and how to avoid the high-risk words that have a probability of being misunderstood, how to take reflective listening to the next level, how to communicate more effectively in less time, and then how to create a bridge between qualitative words and quantitative tools, such as assessments and your healthcare record, to increase trust between the provider and the patient. So we'll jump into how communication can really help healthcare feel good when it is already performing its job.
Thanks so much, Becky. All right, you guys. So we have 3 options. I'm going to share them again one more time with you all. In a minute, Naomi's going to open the breakout rooms and you can pick a microaggression communication trainings. The first one, using resident reflections on a palliative care elective and giving Claire and Jill feedback so they can write lots and lots of brilliant manuscripts. And then considering how we can apply the narrative initiative to our practice as clinicians and teachers. Game time decision, because it's already 12:30. We're just going to end the meeting in your breakout rooms. So you all in the breakout rooms can decide, when it gets to 1 o'clock, you can just close from there and you all can just leave the meeting from the breakout room. You don't need to go back. We won't do a large group close today. We'll send a recap through the listserv of the meeting and what's to come. If you all haven't done choose your own breakout room, this is hopefully what it's going to look like in a minute when Naomi opens the breakout rooms and you just pick which breakout room you want to join. You ready, Naomi?
They should be open right now. So you should see something should have popped up for you. And then on the bottom, there should be an extra tab that says breakout.